got some big-time reports suggesting that DeMar DeRozan may not be returning to the Chicago Bulls this upcoming season. What's up, everybody? My name is Patrick Siepman, and welcome into the Bulls Report. Now, before we dive into the DeMar Report, if you guys want the Bulls to embrace the youth movement, let's send a message to the front office. And if you guys could, hit that thumbs up icon. It helps us just grow this channel here, gets this video out to more and more Bulls fans. So if you guys could, hit that thumbs up icon. I put the goal as 300 likes. I'm sure you guys will absolutely knock it out of the park. But also coming up later on today's show, if the Bulls are going to this youth movement, I think we should start looking at the 2025 NBA draft and looking at some of the top players that are coming out next season. So make sure you guys do stay tuned for that. As Cooper Flagg is the biggest name we're going to be talking about. But this report came from Casey Johnson. If you guys don't know him, really tapped in with the Bulls, works for NBC Sports Chicago. And when he says something, you have to trust it. As he says, make no mistake, not only is Zach LaVine available for trade, the Bulls are open for business. And with growing buzz that DeMar DeRozan will be elsewhere next season, either via a sign or trade or simply walking in unrestricted free agency, the buzzword is no longer competitive. And, when I think about DeMar and just where he's at in his NBA career, as he is 34 years old, he's, obviously only has a couple more years left of high, productive basketball. It's going to come down to what DeMar DeRozan wants. I think if he wants to stay with the Bulls, you can make the argument where he could be a leader, he could be a mentor for these young guys, and still be able to put up solid production. But on the other hand, what if DeMar wants to get a ring? It is not going to happen here with the Bulls in the next couple of years. The Bulls' timeline, they're pushing it back a couple of seasons, and hopefully by 2028, we're talking about the Bulls as one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference. So DeMar, he's got a decision to make. Does he want that ring, or does he want to stay in Chicago and kind of be a mentor and a leader for this ball club? But hey, the youth movement is here. I love this graphic. It's showing all the young Bulls. You got Buzelis, you got Giddey, Williams, Ayo, and Kobe White all under the age of 24. So clearly the youth movement is here in Chicago. And will DeMar want to be a part of that? I am not sure. But, DeMar over the past 4 years with the Bulls, he has been, fantastic. And, when the Bulls made that trade with the San Antonio Spurs, I absolutely loved the move because I was always a huge fan of DeMar DeRozan. I mean, look at the stats over the last 3 years. And specifically that 2021 season where the Bulls were the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference. They were top of the East, about halfway through the year. But then Lonzo got hurt, and, we know what happens, after that. But almost averaging 28 a game, 5 assists, very efficient as well. We've seen him show the self-awareness and start developing that three-point shot. Corner threes were, I don't want to call him a specialty this past season, but they were a lot more, common in his shot diet than in comparison to years past. And, DeMar DeRozan's been great for the Bulls, no doubt about it, but I do think it's time for the Bulls to move on. I understand the argument you can make to me where it's we could have him in the locker room. We could, he could be a good piece to, continuously help, develop guys like Patrick Williams and Modest Buzelis. But I just think with where the Bulls are at, if you bring back DeMar DeRozan, you're going to take shots away from these young guys. Their usage rate's going to go down. And I think that's the number one key to developing players is just throw them out there, have them go through the learning curves, and help them kind of know the wrongs and rights of the NBA game. But Arturas did talk about DeMar recently in a press conference, and he says, DeMar's been great for us for 3 years. He's been invested in the city of Chicago, and he has been really great to our young guys. So both sides are interested in continuing, and we will see what happens in free agency. And the more I listen to AK, I am starting to believe he is fully committed to this rebuild. And, obviously the Bulls front office has shown us lack of self-awareness in thinking they could still go on a playoff run, still thinking they can, make some noise in the East. I think Arturas is saying, we need to start this over. We need to reset the timeline. So even just hearing him talk about DeMar right there, it seems like he is, more likely than not leaning towards the Bulls, fully embracing this youth movement. But where could DeMar go? I got 3 teams for you. So number one, I think the Golden State Warriors, and the big reason for this, I think they're going to want to take advantage of the last couple of years of Steph Curry as he is still playing top 10 player in the world, basketball as it stands right now. If they do strike out on Paul George, keep your eyes out on DeMar. Maybe it's a little sign and trade as they are reported, probably going to lose Klay Thompson in free agency. But what about the Clippers? Obviously you got that West Coast connection. DeMar would go back home and, the Clippers, they love bringing in guys like Russ, Harden, like these older stars in the back half of their career. Like, it would be a very Clippers move for them to bring in DeRozan. But my prediction on where he's going to sign is actually the Philadelphia 76ers. We got the report that they're all in on guys like OG Anunoby, Paul George. Well, OG just signed a massive extension with the Knicks. Paul George came out and said he wants to stay on the West Coast. So what's the next best option for Philly? They could go a guy like Brandon Ingram, but maybe they just want to bring in DeMar DeRozan for 2 years, get really productive play out of him, and then, maybe in 3 years from now, they can go find that true third star next to Maxey and Embiid. But keep your eyes out for Philly. That would be my prediction on where DeMar DeRozan is going to play his basketball next season. But we'll obviously have to wait and see how free agency shakes out. But you guys let me know. Imagine you're Mark Eversley for me. Would you re-sign DeMar DeRozan? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no down in the comments section. All right, this may be way too early. This may be me jumping the gun here, but if the Bulls are going to this youth movement, I cannot wait to start looking at the 2025 NBA draft. So way too early, but we're going to look at the top 5 prospects that are out there right now. And number 1, this would be absolutely awesome if the Bulls could somehow land Cooper Flagg. Now, Cooper Flagg, he's a big forward, has insane handle, and he will be the number 1 pick next season, no doubt about it. And this is the dream for the Bulls. Like, if you're starting this rebuild and, you got Buzelis, you got Williams, Io, Kobe White, then you just throw Cooper Flagg into the mix, you could be talking about the Bulls as having the best young core in the entire NBA. But, I think Flagg's going to be a stud in the NBA. We'll see how he plays at Duke this next season. But, he is going to have, like, that Zion Williamson type of hype around him coming out of college. So keep your eyes out on Cooper Flagg. He'll be the number 1 pick. Again, this is the pipe dream. The Bulls would need some luck in the lottery. But if they can somehow get that, like, we're going to be talking about the Bulls being one of the best teams in the NBA for the next upcoming years. But how about a Rutgers player, Ace Bailey? And there's actually 2 Rutgers players on here, so expect them to be must-watch TV, this upcoming year in college basketball. But Ace Bailey, this is what CBS Sports had to say about the Rutgers forward. They said, Bailey may not have the national notoriety that Flagg does, but he made a rapid charge up the high school rankings last year and ended up being a very real contender for Flagg's number 1 ranking. Bailey is a big wing with absolutely explosive athleticism and tough shot making ability on top of that. He's nowhere near as polished as Flagg, nor as prepared to consistently impact winning, but when he gets it going, his highest flashes can be reminiscent of Tracy McGrady. And so there's an argument to be made that he has the highest upside in the class. And I totally agree with CBS here. When I was watching his highlight tape before this, when I watched his potential and what he could be in, 4 years from now as a basketball player, I actually agree. I think it could be higher than Cooper Flagg. Probably going to play some, big 2 guard, or he could be a 3 in the NBA, but he is super athletic, great shot making ability. He's got that T-Mac kind of Anthony Edwards feel to his game, so keep your eyes out on him as well. But coming up next here, Nolan Traore. He is a 6'5" point guard from France, and I definitely don't think the Bulls would take him in this spot because the Bulls, they just brought in Giddey, Io DeSumo, Kobe White. They already got their guard, so I can't really see them taking a chance on the big-time guard. But, who knows what happens. Maybe the Bulls do, view him as, that's our guy. But cool story. He came over to the States this past season, played his first real game in front of, NBA scouts. He dropped 45 points. He absolutely lit it up. So he's a very talented basketball player. Kind of reminds me of Cade Cunningham a little bit in his game. But let's talk about Bulls legend Ron Harper, his son, Dylan Harper, who is also going to Rutgers. So Rutgers, Duke, they're going to be must-watch TV this upcoming year in college basketball. And, Dylan Harper, I'm a big fan of his game. And, he gets a lot of it from his dad. We knew Ron being one of the best point-of-attack defenders, in NBA history. And, Dylan, he shows that, effort on the defensive side of the floor. Plays hard, always playing 110%. But this is also what CBS Sports had to say about him. They said Harper was once the top-ranked prospect in his high school class before finishing in the top 5 at number 3 overall. The son of longtime NBA player Ron Harper, Dylan has trended towards a big lead guard in recent years. He has positional size, long arms, and a strong body and a terrific feel for the game. he's not quite as naturally explosive as some others in the class. So the consistency of his shooting is a crucial variable to monitor in the upcoming year. And, I agree with that. Obviously it's going to come down to a lot of these guys, as younger players, like, there's such a difference between, being a great NBA shooter and, just being an okay NBA shooter. It comes down to, just consistency. Like a lot of these guys, like everybody in the NBA can shoot, but a lot of these guys are super streaky shooters where they could go 2 weeks and they're shooting 45%, but then it could go a month and they're shooting 30%. So Dylan Harper, love his athleticism, love his feel for the game, and I really do think he is going to be a good NBA player. But wrap it up here. I mean, this guy's an absolute animal. Khaman Muluach, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, but he's 7'2", big fella from Duke, and this would be a dream as well. Let's just say the Bulls end up with the 5th pick in next year's NBA draft, and they can somehow get him with that selection. Like, that would be fantastic. 7'2", super long arms, super athletic, and he actually has pick and pop ability, which is insane. And, if you're looking where the NBA is going, like, with all these big fellas who have, like, guard type of skills, like, obviously Victor Wembanyama, the greatest example of that. But guys like Giannis, guys like Chet Holmgren, there's going to be more of these players where they're 7+ feet, and they can also handle the ball. It would be nice if the Bulls could get a player on that can at least go head-to-head with them. And, I think you're going to see a lot of these teams take chances on these 7-footers, that have guard-like skills, like that Bol type of build, because also you're going to need a guy to guard those other types of players. So keep your eyes out on him. But hey, if the Bulls somehow get a top 5 pick next year, it will be fantastic. There are 5, must-have prospects that actually have, top 15 player in the world potential in this year's class. But let's end it here. If you want the Bulls to get a top 5 pick next year in the NBA draft, like the damn video. Get the good vibes going. Don't jinx it. And yeah, I would really appreciate if you guys could help us out. But also make sure you guys are subscribed. We're going to have a video coming out later today on the UDFAs for the Chicago Bulls. So hit that sub button, lock us in, and we'll see y'all next time. As always, go Bulls.